All right, good afternoon, everybody. We are here live again for another installment of Aquarium at Home Facebook live stream from the Tennessee Aquarium. As you can see, today we are going to talk about these adorable porcupine fish. And as much as I think I could just hold the camera right here and let you guys just watch these guys for hours and hours, we do also have with us aquarist Adam Johnson. Thank you for being here, Adam. Thank you for joining us. So, I guess tell us a little bit about these guys. First off, what are we looking at?
Yeah, so these guys are freckled porcupine fish. So a common misconception is that they're actually puffer fish. So you can tell the difference between porcupine fish and puffers by their spines. So you can see these guys have some really notable sharp-looking spines that inflate when they puff. So that's the difference. On puffer fish, they're going to look really smooth, and they just have very tiny spines that aren't very noticeable when they're not puffed. But both groups do puff up. So that's a defense mechanism that these guys have. So they have a very elastic stomach, and they just fill it up with water when they get alarmed. And yeah, so that's pretty much their notable feature.
Yeah.
Other than being ridiculously cute.
Absolutely. So you guys can probably see here the spines that we're talking about, kind of laid back against them right there. Very cute. Now these guys are generally pretty happy here, so we may not see anything puff up today, but they are still very amazing fish to look at. So cute. Just for a little bit of a size reference here, I'm going to try to put my hands where you can see. You can see there. Oh. So I will say, if anybody has a question, go ahead and drop that in the comments. But I will go ahead and ask Adam a few questions. So we are at the Tennessee Aquarium with these guys, Adam, but where would we find these guys in the wild?
So these guys, this particular species is actually pretty widespread throughout the world. So you can pretty much find them in any tropical ocean. So from the Caribbean to off the coast of Australia, they're in the Indian Ocean, and they're off the coast of Africa as well. So they're pretty widespread. But yeah, nice warm tropical reef waters.
Yeah, absolutely. So besides having the ability to puff up and having those spines and being awesomely cute, I think there's something special about these guys' teeth as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that? I'm going to try to zoom in on their mouth here if I can.
Yeah, so their teeth are actually specially adapted. They're one of the most thought to be the most derived features of these fish. So they're basically one unit on the top and the bottom, and they grow continuously, almost like a rodent. It's a little different of a process, but they grow continuously like that. So they're really good at eating mollusks and crustaceans and things with hard shells. That's their preferred diet. And that also helps them ground their teeth down to the acceptable level where they can still use them. So that's one thing that we do have to consider when we're taking care of these guys. We need to make sure that they're getting something crunchy, something that they can ground their teeth on like that.
Awesome. Here's a question from Simon, I believe. He wants to know, what's the temperature of the water here in their habitat?
So this tank runs about 74. So their ideal range is anywhere in the low 70s up to like 78 or so.
Cool. All right. Also, Marilyn would like to know, how large will these guys get in the wild?
So you're looking about, or some of our two larger ones, that guy up there is one of them. So he's about full grown. They can maybe get another like half inch or so, but it's generally about 5 to 6 inches. So not super big. The species tends to stay pretty little and cute.
Very cool. Okay. So Adam, you are primarily responsible for caring for these guys, right?
Yeah.
What would you say a day in the life of caring for them consists of?
I mean, it's a lot of just basic monitoring, so we just like to make sure that they look happy and healthy and that they're acting normal. So as you can see, they're a pretty personable fish. Yeah. So they like to come up and say hi and check out what you're doing, beg for food a little. So we just monitor behaviors like that to make sure that they're looking normal. And then, like I said, when we're feeding them things with shells and things like that, they obviously don't eat the shells, they'll eat with the contents. So it's a lot of cleaning up. They're pretty messy. Yeah, and just maintaining that clean environment that they need in captivity like this. and these guys are actually a breeding group too, so we do a lot of trying to understand how we need to keep the eggs and successfully breed them.
Very cool. So tell me a little bit more about that. You mentioned they're a breeding group and that we do things with the eggs. Tell me a little bit more about what we're doing there.
Yeah, so we have a pretty big larval fish program, and it's actually been pretty successful with more of our generally common teleost fish, like our spadefish and other stuff that you see in our secret reef exhibit. And those are a little bit more standardized fish eggs, so they're pretty small, they're pretty pelagic, meaning that they float consistently, and the fish are pelagic when they're born, so they like to be out in the open waters. And it's thought that these guys are pretty different, so it's been a learning curve for us. They have really big eggs that sink, so they're pretty different than other fish, but it's all in an effort to try to get saltwater fish to breed in professional care, so that we can be a little bit more sustainable when we're considering adding things like these to our collection.
Very cool. All right, well, speaking of caring for these guys, I wonder if one reason they're swimming up there so friendly like right now is because they're ready for their next meal.
They are.
So what do we have here first off?
So we're getting krill and clam on the half shell today, so part of that crunchy diet that I mentioned, so they'll have to dig into those shells for that clam. That just helps with their teeth growth. And then also some krill, which is their favorite. Nice and soft and
Very
meaty.
Cool. So,
easy to eat.
very cool. So will they come up to the surface here? Is that the best place for the best view?
They usually let it drop, so you can probably see it through the window.
Oh, 1 second. Too cute. These guys are so cute, you guys. Oh, Marilyn with another question. She said, open waters, are they fast swimmers?
So these guys generally tend to stay closer to the reef, so they can swim actually pretty fast, but only in short little bursts. So they'll generally tend to like hang by a cave, avoid predators that way.
I'm not bad. Oh. All right.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, switch views for a second. Alright, so yeah, while we're watching these guys eat, please let us know if you have any questions. You can drop those right in the comments.
And you can see that one eating the clam on the half shell has already ground up the shell pretty well.
Oh wow.
So, and you'll see them spit it out and stuff, so that's just them chewing on their food and working their teeth.
Okay, Simon has a really good question. Are male and females in the same tank currently?
Yeah, so we think we have 2 females and 3 males, and it's a little hard to tell. They're not sexually dimorphic, so there's no distinguishing features between the male and females just by looking at them. But we have seen 2 individuals act as a female would, like nest guarding and things like that, right before they laid eggs. So.
Okay. All right, Emily asked, does each fish have a different pattern of spots? And that question's from James, age 12, I believe. They
do, yeah. So we can actually ID all of the, all 5 of them. So if we do have a problem with one individual, it's pretty easy to tell which one it is. So they just have different patterns with those dark spots you see on their backs.
Makes sense. And those dark spots, do they serve as camouflage in the wild, would you say?
Yeah, it's likely. Stripes tend to be a good disruptor for predators, so if they see something like that, it's hard for them to lock on. So yeah, it's probably just that striping pattern to kind of throw off the view from a predator.
Very cool. Oh. Right. Right. Majorly would like to know, how old are they?
Ooh, that is a good question. I would have to. They were born at a private aquarium, so we could probably track it down. I want to say they're around like 5-ish, roughly.
Okay. And then a good question to follow that: how long would they live in the wild?
So puffers and porcupine fish generally in their late teens, early 20s. Is life expectancy. A little bit longer in professional care, probably.
Right.
But into their early 20s.
Wow.
Yeah, they're pretty long-lived fish.
Okay. Get that out of here. Okay, question from Midge. How long before they'll be on exhibit?
So that's a good question. We've been holding them back for breeding, just to see if we could collect eggs, because it's a lot easier in this small of a tank and when it's just them. But we think we might have hit the end of their seasonal breeding, so we're giving them a little bit longer to sit, just to see if they will breed again. But if we are at the end of their season and it's been a while without them, they'll probably go on in the next couple months.
Okay, very cool. And what exhibit would that be again?
They'll be in our secret reef exhibit.
Very cool.
Yep. So they'll be tucked in the little reef hole somewhere. Imagine hard to find, but worth it if you do see them.
Yeah. All right, another good question from Madgerly. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. She asked, is the aquarium open or is it still closed to the public? And Madgerly, we are open. For information about hours and things like that, you can go to our website. It's tnaqua.org. That's tanaqua.org. Adam, I don't think we've addressed this yet, but how often are these guys fed?
So these guys get fed Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so 3 times a week.
Okay.
Yeah, they're a healthy weight, so we try to keep them there. They would easily overeat, though.
I can kind of tell by their snacking style right now that they would eat anything you would give them, probably. Again, and maybe if you're just joining us, please let us know if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to sit here and just watch these guys eat as long as you are. But if you do have any questions, we'd be happy to answer those for you. Oh, I like this question from Janelle. Are there major differences between saltwater puffers and freshwater puffers?
Ooh, not a lot, other than just their cell structure, and that allows them to live in freshwater. But the freshwater puffers are mostly in the same family as saltwater pufferfish. So a different family than these guys, but yeah, they're all in the same family, so they're pretty closely related with pretty similar features for the most part.
Yeah, and just so you all at home know, if you have been to the aquarium, we actually do have a freshwater pufferfish on exhibit. I believe that's the Lake Tanganyika exhibit in Rivers of the World. So if you ever want to get a comparison between the two.
Oh, and another cool fact, all puffers and porcupine fish have neurotoxic venom. So not a lot of people know that, but they're on the menu in a lot of Asian countries, and so they have to be prepared a very specific way to avoid that neurotoxin, but in the wild it's mainly for to deter predators. And certain females in this family of porcupine fish can actually encase their eggs in that neurotoxic venom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, to keep predators off the eggs, which is pretty cool.
That is amazing. All right, Loree asked, do they have teeth?
They do. So they have two large teeth, one on their top jaw and one on their bottom. And again, similar to rodents, they grow continuously. So they'll grind them down by eating mollusks and crustaceans and things with hard shells. That's their favorite pastime.
Alright, well, one question I have as I'm sitting here watching these cute guys is, I see these blue things in the tank here.
Yeah.
What is that for these guys?
So those are actually just car wash strips. So we buy them from the same supplier that supplies car washes. But we use them out here for cover rather than like fake reef structures or anything like that, because we're a quarantine facility, so they're very easy to bleach and clean in between animals, and they don't hold meds. So when we dose things with meds, they're really easy to rinse out and make sure that we're not redosing a tank on accident by putting them back in or anything like that. So that's also why they have PVC, super easy to clean, rather than pre-modeled reef structure or anything like that that could be pretty absorbent for drugs like that.
Okay.
And these guys actually have a pretty cool consideration in their quarantine, so everybody gets prophylactic drugs when they come in just to make sure that they're nice and healthy. And these guys, since they have that really expandable stomach that they use to puff up, they can actually contain protozoans and other parasites in that cavity that we wouldn't normally get with just dosing medication to the tank. So we actually have to puff them so that they swallow medicated water and clean out their stomach.
Okay, that's cool. So it is necessary then when they first come in to try and get them to puff up. That makes a lot of sense. You want to make sure that all of that good stuff gets everywhere it needs to go.
Right.
All right, Lisa asked, what are some of their predators?
So just larger fish, smaller shark species, dolphins and other marine mammals really like them for some reason. But yeah, they're one of their favorites. Yeah, just anything bigger than them that's predatory.
Cool. I believe a little further up someone asked again what we feed them here at the Tennessee Aquarium.
Yeah, so we vary their diet a lot. Today they got clams with the shell and krill, but they'll get all sorts of stuff. They'll get different fish species, clam, krill, capelin. We feed them a gel diet as well to make sure that they're getting vitamins and all the minerals that they would get from eating crustaceans and things that are eating plant material. So we trick them into eating that. They eat squid. We'll give them some mackerel every once in a while.
Cool. All right, Loree says, I didn't see earlier, are they captive bred or wild caught?
These guys are captive bred, so they were actually a private donation. Someone had them in their home aquarium, and I think they bred and had too many and didn't know what to do, so they were a donation, and we're very happy.
Very cool. I'm loving how they're chomping on those shells and spitting them back out. This is a good one from Susan. How many species of pufferfish are there, or is that a nickname that is interchangeable with porcupine fish?
Yeah, so it is. Pufferfish is actually their own family. So porcupine fish are in a different family. And again, these guys are porcupines because of their pretty visible spines. So in the porcupine fish family, I want to say there's roughly 40 species. That could be very wrong. I think that's what I read. And puffers are much more widespread, so several hundred.
They're starting to disperse a little bit, I think, because they've had their meal. They're ready to go about their day. Another good question from Lori. Do they give live birth or lay eggs?
They lay eggs. So we try to collect their eggs, and they're, like I said earlier, they're a little different than other larval fish eggs, so they are really big in comparison, and they sink rather than float, so it's pretty interesting. But they're egg layers.
So cute. Alright y'all, well as I said before, I'm happy to sit here and watch this all afternoon. I want to open it up one more time for any last questions we have. Alright, Marilyn has a really good question. Adam, what do you find most fascinating about these fish?
Ooh, that's such a good question. I mean, probably just their capability of puffing. Like, that's crazy to me that they have that much volume in their stomach that just folds up when they're resting. Yeah, it's so cool, and to see them puffed is pretty cool, just to see how much larger they can get, and yeah, just the features that allow that to happen. Their skin's so flexible and expandable, and their spines are pretty intimidating when you see them all puffed.
Yeah. Speaking of those spines, what are they made of, or I guess, like, what do they feel like if you were, not that you would ever want to feel one, but
yeah.
I guess texturally.
I want to say they're chitinous based, but they're pretty sturdy and very pointy. Okay. They're a lot sharper than you would imagine a fish spine could be.
Very cool. Lisa asked, do they normally tend to their eggs?
So the female will sort of. So she'll hover over them for a little bit until everything's done with her laying process, and then after that she'll leave. So she'll guard from the other males and stuff while she's laying eggs, but after that, no parental care.
Yeah. Another thing that I think is really cool about these guys is their eyes. Both the fact that they're really big compared to most fish, and also that they seem to be able to blink, which I don't know if that's common in fish. I can't think of a lot of times I've seen fishes blinking.
Yeah, so they don't have eyelids like most Helios fish, but they do have a lot more flexibility with their eyes. Like a lot of fish eyes are locked in socket, but theirs are not. Several fish families aren't either, but so they're not super unique with that, but they do have that capability of moving them, and they are really large, and often in fish populations that's correlated with intelligence, so they are pretty smart fish. They can be trained, it's thought that they can recognize certain people.
Oh, wow.
If they're exposed to them a lot. In the wild, they would have a certain range that they would know on the reef pretty well, so, and those eyes also help them see other puffer fish and avoid predators as well. So they are pretty intelligent little fish.
Very cool. Do you feel like they recognize you at this point?
I think they at least recognize that we are correlated with food. For sure. They definitely come up and say hi.
Okay, we have a question now from Diana Johnson.
Oh, hi, Mom.
She says, what is their life expectancy? Mama wants to know.
So I'm not sure about this specific species, but puffers and porcupine fish in general tend to be pretty long-lived, so into their late teens and early 20s, depending on the species. And these guys, I want to say, without looking at their records, I want to say are about 5 years old, so they have just reached sexual maturity, probably, and will have a lot more years left with us.
Very cool. Alright, y'all, well with that, we will start to close down for the day. I want to thank everybody for watching, and Adam as well for being with us, and our lovely puffer friends as well. If you want to check the rest of our Oddtober live stream schedule, you can do that at tnopla.org/Oddtober. We've got several more live streams planned this month as we celebrate Oddtober, which is a time when we highlight animals with weird and odd adaptations. And if you're planning to visit the aquarium, we also have right now our Oddtober scavenger hunt going on, where you can download that sheet also from tnopla.org while you're here and set out on your own quest to find some of the aquarium's most weird and wonderful creatures. Alright, y'all, thank you so much for watching, and have a fantastic day.